Hey everybody. Okay, so today I wanted to create this video since property tax season is coming up. It's time for everybody to start thinking about protesting their taxes. And so I brought along my good friend Takeda Owens. She was in the property tax. I'll let her explain that. But basically, we're going to cover just how to reduce your tax burden, protest your property valuations, and then leverage any kind of valuable exemptions that you can take advantage of through your home ownership. So, Takeda, if you don't mind introducing yourself and just giving us a little insight on your experience.
Yeah, so my name is Takeda. I've been in property appraisal for 6 years. I actually have been out of it for about a year now. I'm a licensed realtor here in Lubbock. I did practice my real estate appraisal in New Mexico and Texas. So I'm well versed in both states, and I'll tell you there's not too many differences between the two. Fell into the career, but I gained a lot of knowledge that I want to share with these homeowners because it's very niche and it only happens once a year. And if you're not paying attention to it, you'll miss it.
Yeah. And I have found through my journey as a realtor that, some of this stuff is not common knowledge and a lot of people don't know what questions to ask. So that's why we're here today. So I'm going to ask the questions for you and hopefully we get them all covered. Okay. So the first set of questions we're going to talk about is just the protest. Since it is protest season, can you explain what a property tax protest is and how it can potentially save homeowners money?
Yeah, so I would actually want to start with what value of a property is. So it's an opinion. It's an opinion of value, and those opinions are usually set by licensed appraisals in appraisal districts. But protest season comes into play. It gives you a small window of opportunity to go voice your opinion on what your property is worth. And that's hugely important now with market shifts. So they'll give you a small window. It's going to be April, Mayish. You're going to receive that notice of value. You have 30 days from the day that they sent it to you to fill out the paperwork and pretty much put your name on that list to get out there and protest. And last time I was working at an appraisal district here in Lubbock, we did well over 20,000 a year.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then is it just the value that you protest or is there anything else that you can protest?
So you can actually protest every aspect of your property, including the value. So if they denied an exemption, you can protest it. If you added something to your property and they don't have the square footage correct, you can protest it. However, everything you protest or bring to their attention, you're going to need documentation and proof to back it up.
Okay. And so basically the whole protest process is about you just disagreeing what they're taxing you on as far as the value of your property.
Yes.
And so trying to get basically a break on your property taxes based on your opinion of the value.
Absolutely.
Correct? Okay. All right. So then on to the when and how to protest. What's the best time of year to start the process? And what documentation or evidence should homeowners gather before filing that protest?
So the best time of year is to pay attention is going to be that April, May window when you get that notice of value. That's going to be your ticket to begin the process.
Okay.
Things you want to gather kind of throughout the year, or especially around that time, is going to be photos of your property. And the biggest key point that I cannot stress enough is you can't take your phone in there to show them. Okay. If you go into a hearing, you could show an appraiser, but if you need to take it further, they need to be printed because it is a hearing and any evidence shown must be retained. And I don't think you're going to want to lose your phone.
Yeah, you don't want them keeping your phone. So, yeah. So basically print out. And what is the reason of doing like the condition? Is that because it helps, it changes the value of the property if it's in maybe not like completely remodeled or updated or whatever?
So that's an awesome question. And this is a perspective I like to give from the appraiser side is we don't go into your home. So I'm going to base my opinion of value based off of it being perfect or it being really nice and marketable ready. I don't know that your countertops are Formica. I don't know that there's cracks in your ceilings because I don't go in your property. So that's your window to show me what does the inside look like. And this is why I won't bring top dollar on the market.
Okay. So what kind of things do you normally suggest that they use as evidence to provide? Like say, is it, old carpet or like, what do you usually see that says to the homeowner that, hey, I can use this as evidence?
So you kind of nailed it right there. So anything that's considered dated that wouldn't be, and a good way to look at that is go look at Zillow. What is the market bringing now? And what do those houses look like? And does yours look like that?
Okay.
And if it's dated, if there's cracks, if windows are broken, AC went out, all the big ticket items are what they need to know about. Because when you go to sell that property, you're going to have to either lower it or, accommodate with that buyer for those issues.
Okay. And then if someone doesn't feel comfortable navigating the protest like on their own, like say if they're a little bit confused about what it is that they exactly have to do and what evidence they need to provide, is there anyone who can help them through that process?
Yeah, there's actually quite a few people that can help. So me being one of them, I'm happy to share this knowledge on what it is to keep you in your home, because a lot of the complaints are being taxed out of homes. Let's keep you in there. Another really awesome resource that are out there are property tax consultants. There's places like Ace of Texas and some, I believe one's named Onwell. There are different services that you do have to pay for, but they will protest on your behalf.
Okay. So if you don't want to do that whole mess, there are resources.
Mhm.
Okay. And during the negotiations, what are your top tips for negotiating with the appraisal district or tax authorities to successfully lower the assessed value?
So my number one tip, and this is just from my experience, is you get more bees with honey. These people are human, even though they're appraisals and they feel like you're your enemy in that moment. The nicer you are, the more likely they are to hear your opinion of what you got going on. Also, just the more you can bring them in the front end of the process just makes it easier. Don't try to withhold information till all the way to the end till you're in a hearing, because it's wasting your time, their time, and everybody in between. If they can make an adjustment for you within their scope of work, they will.
Okay. So they want to help you. It's not like an argument that we're having. It's just, hey, let me provide proof of why I think you're not correct.
Absolutely.
And let's do it the most efficient way. Okay. And you did mention, as far as evidence is concerned, they can't have any like virtual documentation. It has to be printed out in something tangible that you can hand over to them.
Yes. So another really good thing, if you're not able to print things out on your own, if you get in touch with the appraiser that will be handling your protests, email them the documents. They'll print them for you if you need to go any steps further into the process. They're more than happy to do that, and it's easier for them to keep track of your documents instead of having a bunch of loose leaf paper everywhere.
Okay. And how do you know who the appraiser is for your particular property? Will you be notified who's going to do that?
Yeah. So once you submit that protest, it gets dispersed out into the correct fields, because there's going to be your commercial, your ag, your residential. So for the sake, if you're doing a residential protest, that will be assigned to one of the 6 appraisers.
Okay.
And they have, I believe, 48 business hours to look at it and make some type of effort on something. If that means contacting you to say no, contacting you to say, hey, what do you got to prove yourself? Like they have to reach out in some capacity.
Okay. And then I guess, what are for deadline requirements, what are the typical deadlines for filing a property tax protest and or filing for exemptions, which we'll cover next?
Yeah. So the biggest deadline is going to be 30 days of getting that notice of value. That's going to be your prime window to do the first type of protest, which is typical. There's other ones that if you're late, you can still do it. Those get a little bit more complicated, but you have 30 days to fill out that paperwork. Now, the whole process is more than likely not going to be finished in 30 days. The appraisal district is working with 20,000 plus people to get properties lowered. So the only time constraint on the homeowner is going to be that first 30 days.
Okay. So within that first 30 days from them receiving their documentation or their tax bill in the mail, it's from the date that it's timestamped, like that they mailed it out, or from the day that they receive it?
From the day that it was mailed out. That way the appraisal district knows this is the deadline on when we're going to stop receiving this type of protest.
Okay. And then if a protest is initially denied or the homeowner disagrees with the result, what steps can they take in appealing?
Yeah, so there's going to be 3 main stages. The first stage you're going to walk into is going to be the informal stage. That's where you just get to speak with a representative of the appraisal district, talk to them, see if you guys can find a common ground and agreement. If you do, you're going to do what's called settlement and waiver, and you're good for the rest of the year. Let's say that doesn't happen, and you take it a step further. You're going to go to what's called a hearing. And it sounds intimidating, but it's not. You're going to have 3 people that are board members, and it's going to be you and your appraiser. You guys are going to both get to say your side of what you believe is right, and then the 3 people on the panel will set a value. It may be theirs, maybe yours, maybe somewhere in the middle. And then if you don't agree to that, you can take it to the furthest step, which is going to be arbitration. Not typical. It does cost $500 to even file that. And then typically what you end up saving from it doesn't counter what you put in to get to that point. So my only caution to that is really make sure it's worth it before you commit to going that far.
Okay. And when would you say it would be worth it? Like maybe like some examples of, somebody who would maybe go to the furthest extent of arbitration, what would make it worth it?
So in my opinion, what would make it worth it is all going to depend on the value of your property. If you're in that value range of 100 to maybe 300,000, probably not in your best interest because you're not going to end up saving that much at the end. But if you're working with apartment complexes, commercial, or $1 million properties that that there's that big of a discrepancy, that's where you may want to take it that much further.
Okay. Now let's talk about some exemptions. So exemptions, what common property tax exemptions are available for people who own?
Yeah, so there's quite a few. The most commonly known is going to be the homestead. There's disabled veterans. There's just plain disability. Then they have other things like ag and stuff like that, but that doesn't typically reflect on a normal homesteaded property. The biggest thing with these is for homesteads, your driver's license does need to match. You need to live there for 6 or more months out of the year, and you cannot claim a homestead on any other property at all. You can only have one, even if it's different states and you 50-50 live somewhere, you got to pick one. Because there are a lot of programs and softwares out there that check that.
Okay. So they'll do their due diligence on their end and know whether or not you're trying to claim homestead in 2 different locations. Because a homestead is essentially saying, this is my primary home, this is my residence, I live here.
Absolutely. And what the cool thing about a homestead and what it does is without it, they can move your property value from 100,000 to 200,000. Easy. Homestead is only going to let them move it up in 10% increments per year.
As far as the value goes.
Okay. So it's not going to be, it'll still look crazy because it's going to look like these big jumps, but what you're truly being taxed on could only increase 10%.
Okay. And then what other exemptions you mentioned the ones with the veterans, the disabled veterans, and just disabled in general. Is there anything else that they can get an exemption for?
So in addition to the homestead is the over 65. So when you apply for that homestead, they look at your driver's license. So as long as you're still in that property and it's still your homestead, it'll automatically go on when you turn 65. That's going to lock in those jurisdiction tax rates for certain ones, not all of them, but it's going to lock in like your highest one, which would be your school district. It's going to help your tax bill not fluctuate hugely moving forward. But again, it only happens when you're 65. And it also applies for people with disability, depending on the paperwork you provide them. And then for VA disabilities, it's tiered. So depending on the level of disability reflects on how much of a rebate you get on your taxes. And if you're 100% disabled veteran, it's free. You don't have to pay any property taxes.
And then from there, depending on what their level of disability determines how much savings they get.
Yes.
Okay. And then how often should homeowners review their property assessments, and what ongoing strategies can they use to keep property taxes manageable?
So the biggest time to review it is going to be when that notice of value comes out. That's the prime time to look at the value.
Okay.
The next time I would say to just make sure you're looking at it is when that bill comes out. Make sure you're getting all your exemptions that you applied for, because that's when it matters.
Okay. And can you apply for an exemption any time of the year, or just during protest season when you're protesting your valuation?
You can apply for it any time of the year. It's going to be kind of a case-by-case basis on when it gets put on exactly, but there's no time limit or time restraint on when you put it on. I do want to mention, though, that if you put a homestead on and you end up leaving that property and you didn't notify them and remove it, they can actually go back and back tax you.
Oh, okay. So if you didn't catch it and you move out, well, I would say not necessarily sell it, but if you move out and you move to a different location and you never took it off, then you can get in trouble for that.
Yeah. Okay. Potentially could be back taxed on it.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so I know I had a client not too long ago who was wondering about when they file their homestead exemption on the property, does anything prevent them from getting it like right away, or?
So they'll usually get it the following year. And if the person that they bought it from had a homestead, they'll actually get to keep that homestead till the next year's.
Oh, okay. Okay. So it doesn't go away. If you're going from one homestead owner to another homestead owner, it'll remain in place. They just have to make sure that they apply for theirs so that it'll take over.
Yeah. So they don't lose it. So appraisal is based off January 1.
Okay.
So everything that rotates through will be based off January.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that's it. That's all the questions that I have. And I hope that I was able to ask all the questions that you guys have. And if you don't, then you can feel free to reach out to Decatur Owens, for us here on Facebook, YouTube, whatever. And then she also has contact information on her Facebook page. So, all right. Thank you so much, guys.